PlayStation 5 finally arrived here in the UK on Thursday, and since Thursday I have been playing my PS5 consistently every single night. As soon as I'm, before I start work, after I finish work, I've been coming home and purely sitting down and just playing on my PS5, and what a few days this has been. This video is purely just my first impressions of the PS5. I just kind of wanted to make this video. It's been a few days since I've, gotten the PS5. I got it on Thursday morning as the release date as it arrived, and I've just been playing it pretty much non-stop since. I've had a few games and stuff like that, and it's just been an incredible journey so far. Obviously, the next generation, it's always an exciting time for us gamers. It's always a time for us to really just appreciate these new consoles, these new games, these new experiences that we've not been able to experience before. And it's always an incredibly exciting time. And for the PS5, especially for someone like me, I'm a huge PlayStation fan. I've owned every PlayStation system in some way, shape or form throughout my life. I'm always, even though I consider myself to be a very neutral gamer, I have an Xbox One S, I have a Nintendo Switch. I've always had a preference to PlayStation. Like, PlayStation has always been my favorite. It's always been my go-to. So I'm always the most excited about PlayStation stuff. So the launch of the PS5 was a big moment for me. My first thoughts when I opened up the console were incredibly bewildered. I was like, wow, this thing is huge. I didn't expect it to be as big as it was. I knew it was going to be big, and I've seen pictures of it, I'd seen videos of it, I'd seen it compared to other consoles, I'd seen it compared to the PS4, I'd seen it compared to the Xbox Series X. Like, I knew this thing was big, but I don't think any pictures or any video footage can really prepare you for how truly ginormous this system is. And honestly, when I opened it, I wasn't quite sure if it was going to fit in my own home setup, but thankfully it does. But it's genuinely huge. But what's great about it is that, obviously, while it is this monolith of a games console, it looks absolutely stunning. Like, this thing is beautiful. I said this, if you saw my PS5 reveal event reaction, I was talking in that video about how beautiful I thought the console was. I thought it looked absolutely incredible, but at the same time also looked incredibly futuristic and, almost like a toy in a way. And it just nails that look. Like, it literally is like a machine from the future. And if you showed this to, someone in the 90s who had just picked up a PlayStation 1 and you said this is what we're going to get in 2020 as the PlayStation 5, I think they'd be absolutely, bewildered by the whole thing. Because it is a beautiful looking console, and, from a design standpoint, it's just designed to the max. Like, it's such an incredible piece of machinery, and it's quiet as a mouse. It's just incredibly silent the entire time. Unlike my PS4, which sounded like a jet engine taking off, especially playing a lot of higher, more demanding games, stuff like The Last of Us Part 2 or Call of Duty Modern Warfare. That, my old PS4, I had a base, original standard PS4. It wasn't the most pleasant thing to listen to, even with decent headphones on, and playing games with high volume and stuff like that. It would still creep up over my headphones. It was still that loud. The PS5 does not have that issue. It's incredibly quiet. It's whisper quiet. I cannot hear it. The only time I've ever heard it kind of ramp up is if it's downloading something, where it'll have like a 1 second burst of energy where like a bit of noise will come out of it, and it's literally, it lasts like 1 second, and then it'll go back to being normal again. And like I say, I've only experienced that when it's downloading something, so I'm assuming obviously that's just a normal procedure, because even the PS4 did that. Like, the PS4 had like these little moments where it would jolt when it was downloading or installing something, so I'm assuming that's just the same thing here with the PS5. But other than that, it's absolutely whisper quiet the entire time. I'm playing Spider-Man Remastered, I've been playing Black Ops Cold War, even playing Black Ops Cold War Online and stuff like that. It's been absolutely silent. I've not heard it at all, and that has been a truly refreshing experience after spending years with my PS4, which, I love my PS4. I think it's an incredible system. I think it's probably the best PlayStation console we'd had so far. Not including the PS5 yet, but it was the best PlayStation console in my opinion out of the first four. That jet engine noise was very distracting at times, and was often very loud and distractingly loud at points, but luckily the PS5 has been able to minimize that issue entirely. My favourite thing about the PlayStation 5 so far, though, has absolutely been the DualSense. What an incredible piece of technology this is. I was always excited to pick up the new PlayStation controller, because I thought that it was going to be a really cool one, and to me personally, nothing had quite prepared me for the innovations that this controller has brought in, because I kind of just felt like this console, or the DualSense controller, was going to be very similar to the DualShock 4, and that it was going to be basically a new version of that with a couple of little added extras, a couple of little toys thrown on there and stuff like that. But it really wasn't going to be this big next generation controller that is really going to change the way you game. but it really is. But before I dive into that, like the shape of it itself is really nice. It's a bit bulkier than the PS4 controller, which is more custom to me. I much prefer a bulkier controller, and I honestly think this might be my favorite controller for any system ever. Like it's just, it fits beautifully in my hands, and obviously it's all a very personal thing. Like everyone has different hands, everyone holds controllers slightly differently and stuff like that. But for me personally, like my own personal experience, I have absolutely adored just holding this controller and using it. It just fits my hands perfectly, and it has this beautiful texture to it. It feels very premium, and the thumbsticks also have a slightly different feel to them. Again, they feel more premium. The triggers, while having a similar feel to the PS4 controller, there is a lot more of a resistance to them, which obviously comes with the adapted triggers and stuff like that. It's just a beautiful, beautiful controller. It looks stunning, and it feels great in my hands. Like, I'm so obsessed with it, and I cannot wait to see what games will do with this controller going forward. But that's what I want to talk about mostly, is the innovations that this controller has brought. Nothing had quite prepared me for it. Like, I had seen, obviously, I'd watched reviews and stuff like that. I had heard people talking about it on podcasts and stuff like that. People who got the PS5 early, they were talking about the DualSense and, you know, all the things it does, but wow, like I had not experienced anything like this. And it's two things in particular. Firstly is the adapted triggers. That was something I was very interested to see, because when I first heard that the PS5 controller was going to have adapted triggers, I thought it was going to be basically what the Xbox One controller had, where it basically had vibrations in the triggers, but it's so much more than that. It has a lot. They've somehow managed to engineer inside the triggers this feeling of tension and resistance, where, for example, if you're playing something like Call of Duty Black Ops Cold War, depending on the gun you're using, you feel more resistance when it comes to aiming down sights and also firing a weapon, and it changes. So like SMGs are a lot more lighter, whereas if you use something like an LMG, it's way heavier, and it just adds so much more immersion and so much of an incredible feeling to the controller. It just adds so much to the experience. And on top of that, there's also this incredible feature that I honestly don't even know how they've managed to do this. Like, I don't understand how this happens, but I was absolutely blown away by it. If you play Astro's Playroom, which is the included PS5 game, and I highly recommend you do, because it's absolutely phenomenal and gives you such a great idea of the PS5, and also it's just a beautiful trip down PlayStation memory lane. Like, if you're a PlayStation fan like me, you'll really appreciate Astro's Playroom. But the way that game demonstrates the haptic feedback in the controller is just unreal. And I heard people talk about this, and people had said on podcasts, on videos and stuff like that on YouTube, that the haptic feedback was something that was really difficult to describe. And I thought, okay, well, that it can't be anything too revolutionary, because it must be something that people will be able to talk about in some depth if it was anything huge. But now I understand why it's so difficult to describe, because I'm going to struggle to describe it here. But the way that the game allows you to, and the controller allows you to feel different environments, is just so revolutionary and so next gen and so cool. You know, if you walk on sand and then you walk on metal, it just feels different through the controller, and I don't even know how they've done it. I don't know how that happens, but it just feels unique. It feels different. Each environment you're in, again, specifically in Astro's Playroom, it's just beautiful. Walking on grass, walking on water, you know, swimming around. It just each environment feels different through the controller, and it's just this incredibly revolutionary thing that I wasn't prepared for. And again, it was something that is really difficult to talk about. It's really difficult to describe. It's something you truly have to just try for yourself and see how it feels to really understand what it is. But it's just such a revolutionary thing, and I never expected it. I never expected the haptic feedback to be as hard-hitting as it was and as good as it is. I thought it was going to be this incredibly weak thing that, you know, wasn't really going to be put much effort into, but it feels like this is a next-gen system. This is a next-gen controller, and this is why. And again, it's something I didn't think was going to be as big of a deal, but I'm obsessed with it. Like, I think it's so awesome. And, you know, even though I'm sure a lot of third-party games aren't really going to utilize all of the features of the DualSense. Like I say, I mean, the only games I've played so far on my PS5 are Astro's Playroom, Marvel's Spider-Man Remastered, and Call of Duty Black Ops Cold War. Spider-Man uses it a little bit, like you kind of feel in the triggers, you can feel the webs and stuff like that. Black Ops Cold War, as I mentioned earlier, is very good with it, with the triggers in particular, because it allows you to use different weapons, and each weapon feels different and stuff like that. But I imagine that a lot of third-party games really aren't going to use the DualSense's features as well as Sony will. But that gets me very, very excited for the lineup of PlayStation exclusives we have, because I'm sure that obviously with all these PlayStation 5 exclusive games, Sony's going to really hone in and utilize the features, and the features don't feel useless. So, like, unlike the PS4 controller, which had like the light bar and the touchpad and stuff like that, though they were cool, they didn't really add much. And, you know, even in Sony exclusives, they never really were used that much. I mean, besides the first, like, a couple of years of exclusives where they were still trying to get people on board with these features, eventually they were just kind of dropped. Whereas I don't see that happening with the DualSense, because these features are so built into the controller and they're so game-changing, I can't see that happening. And I think Sony are really going to hone in on these incredible features. And, you know, obviously we've got an incredible lineup next year with Ratchet & Clank Rift Apart and God of War 2, Horizon Forbidden West, Returnal, all these incredible PS5 exclusives. I think they're all going to really utilize the PS5 DualSense controller in ways that many third-party studios just won't do. And graphically, the PS5 is incredible. I mean, again, I've not tested too much in regards to games. I have literally just played Marvel Spider-Man Remastered, which I just finished today. I'm going to do a review for that. And I've played the multiplayer of Black Ops Cold War. I haven't even played the campaign of that yet, because I'm still, you know, because I've been busy with Spider-Man and stuff. And I've played Astro's Playroom, but graphically, like, I'm mainly going to talk about Spider-Man here. It just looks stunning. It just is a beautiful system. And Spider-Man was already an incredible looking game on PS4. When I played that, you know, I played it in 2019. It was just a beautiful looking game. Here on PS5, it just looks even crisper, even cleaner. It kind of has this incredible cleansed look to it, which the PS4 version didn't have. And also the ray tracing, which obviously is such a big feature going into this generation, is just beautiful. You can do performance mode or you can do enhanced mode. And I went with the enhanced mode just so I could see the ray tracing for myself. And in some, it just looks beautiful. Like seeing these reflections on the walls and on the floor. You know, the way the light bounces around rooms. It is truly immersive and it looks beautiful. And again, like similar to what I said about the DualSense, I didn't expect ray tracing to be such a big deal. And to be honest, really it's not. But if you're paying attention to it and you're looking at it, it does really add a lot more to the world and its graphical fidelity. And I really appreciate that because it just makes it feel so much more like a real living, breathing world. And finally, I'll talk about the PlayStation 5 UI. The user interface has just been a breeze to use, and I've been so impressed with how seamless it all is. My PS4, especially in the last few years, got a bit slow and kind of a bit of a nightmare to navigate around because it had to load quite a lot and stuff like that. And that might have just been a problem with my PS4, but at least that was just again my personal experience. With the PS5, it's just been silky smooth. Like everything you do, no matter what button you press, no matter what you do, it's just there instantaneously. It loads. The load times, oh my god, I completely forgot about the load times. The load times are just phenomenal. You know, when you go onto the home screen and I load up Spider-Man Remastered, I am there in the game in seconds, and it's just incredible to watch and incredible to feel because we've been so used to, for gaming, you know, been so used to in gaming for years, you know, waiting minutes on end for games to load. Here it is instantaneous and it's just absolutely breathtaking. On top of that, the way the UI loads, the speed of it, it's just absolutely addicting, honestly. It's fun just to go around and press buttons because it's so fun to navigate around. It's such a smooth looking thing, you know, it kind of still has that PlayStation look and feel, but it also still feels incredibly modern and premium and pristine. And the PlayStation Store, the way that's been integrated, it's no longer a separate page, it's kind of just all on one thing, and the PS5 can handle that, and it's just, again, it's way more seamless. The PS5, or on the PS4, the PlayStation Store was always a bit of a nightmare to load up, whereas on PS5, it's just seamless. You know, the way that this console introduces backwards compatibility is really easy, it's really simple. You just either download it from your library that has been transferred over from PlayStation 4, or you just pop in a disc and it'll install it on there. It's just all incredibly seamless, and the UI, I've just not been able to get used to it. Like, it's just so beautiful. And, you know, even if it's something as simple as joining a party, is so quick and so easy that I just love doing it. It kind of blows my mind every time, and I'm sure obviously that'll wear off after a few months, but at the moment I'm just loving it, and I can't wait to see how it evolves over this current generation. So that's just my first impressions of the PlayStation 5. I know this video has been a bit jumbled. It's just kind of been me, you know, just saying a bunch of random stuff, me fumbling over my own words, but I'm just so pleased with the PlayStation 5. I was so hyped about it. You know, I think this is going to be such an incredible generation for PlayStation. They've got a big shoe to fill, you know, with the PlayStation 4. That was such a brilliant generation for them, and in my opinion, the best PlayStation console we've had thus far. The PS5 has some big shoes to fill, but based on what I've experienced with the PS5 in this first week, it's just been such a revolutionary system. The UI is just the best we've ever seen. The DualSense controller is my favorite controller for any system ever. The games look incredible, they play incredible, they feel brilliant. I just think that this is such a great step in the right direction for PlayStation. And
not
that they were in a great direction already with the PlayStation 4, but this is just continuing down that path, and I think this is going to be a fantastic, incredible generation for Sony and for PlayStation.